Did you know that paint is the most inexpensive way to give your home a refresh and increase the value of it? It absolutely is, and we're going to talk about that today. I'm Ellen Mitchell, your heels on the ground in the Miami, Fort Lauderdale area. And on this channel, we talk about everything real estate, probate, guardianship, senior relocation, and how to get a home ready for sale. Today we have a guest, Mark Zuccher from 5 Star Painting. And Mark is out here today actually to give us an estimate on this home. And so I grabbed him in since we were shooting content. And he has some great programs that I wanted to go ahead and discuss. So Mark, thank you for being here with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We were talking earlier about the different things that your business does. And I had said, in addition to painting, that there are some things that I often need done. One is the removal of those old, outdated popcorn ceilings. Another is the painting of outdated cabinets. Instead of taking the expense to replace them, they can be painted. And a third is the removal of that old, ugly wallpaper. So I know that you do that and more. Can you just elaborate on some of the additional services that your company offers?
Absolutely. So often when we'll come into a home, we'll see that the walls have been damaged and they need to be repaired. So we'll do light carpentry work, we'll do drywall repair, and we'll make the walls look fantastic before we paint them. So before we paint the walls, typically we'll prime them, and then after that we'll apply 2 coats of paint. We typically use Sherwin-Williams and Benjamin Moore. We don't use inexpensive paints because we don't feel that'll make the walls look good. And we'll apply the paint, usually 2 coats after we apply the primer, and then the walls look fantastic.
Perfect. And one of the reasons that I love using Mark for my clients, I work with a lot of sellers, and a lot of sellers just don't want to come, even if they have the money, they don't necessarily want to come up with the money to have their home painted and have these things done when they're selling. And so Mark offers a wonderful program, which is 0% financing and 0 payments for a year. So that way, my sellers have the work done. I put the house on the market, we sell the home in less than a year, and Mark gets paid out of closing. The sellers don't incur any financing charges. So it's really a win-win. I know in addition to that, you have, if it's going to be a buyer and maybe it's going to take them a little longer than a year to get it paid off, you have some other options. Can you just briefly touch on that?
Of course, yeah. We have another option that's a 5-year plan. Okay, it's not 0%, but it's a 9.9% financing option. But the key is that it's locked in. So throughout the entirety of the loan, between 1 year and 5 years, client only has to pay 9.99%.
And no prepayment penalty, correct?
That is correct.
So at any time, if they want to pay it off in the 5 years, they can pay it off with no prepayment penalty.
Absolutely.
Which is excellent. And then I was mentioning earlier about the improvement in the home and the higher resale value. Can you just talk a little bit about that? And you told a story to me earlier about an apartment that you and your wife had looked at, and that paint was the reason that you wound up paying $1,500 more in rent. So I think that it's important for people to hear about that.
Absolutely. Statistics show in a number of different organizations that if you apply a fresh coat of paint or 2 coats of paint on your wall and it looks better, it smells better, when people come in, they see it, they could actually envision themselves living there, as opposed to if it was not painted and the walls looked horribly or shabbily. So,
or if they were painted some crazy color, which I see all the time.
Absolutely, absolutely. So painting your home before you sell it, it's just a very inexpensive way to increase the value of it. And myself personally, my wife and I, we were looking at another property. The rent was much better for us, but you know what? When we walked in, the walls were horrible. Other parts of the condo were not well taken care of, so we just decided against it. And we're still in our current condominium, which is beautifully painted, thanks to me. And we're very happy there.
So it's so interesting, not just for home buyers and sellers, but also landlords to think about that. Mark was willing, him and his wife were willing to pay $1,500 a month more in rent just to have a nice, clean, refreshed place. So that's definitely something to think about. And finally, I wanted to end with, sometimes I come in and I see homeowners that are ready to rip out their cabinets, rip out their bathroom cabinets, their kitchen cabinets to replace them, which is sometimes necessary, but it's very expensive when they don't realize that just repainting them is an option. So can you just give us a brief,
Sure. Yeah, typically when we're called in to do cabinet painting, what we'll do is we'll sand the cabinets, we'll stain the cabinets to give it that refurbished look, and then we will paint over them to make them look brand new. So it's a much more inexpensive way to keep your cabinets up to date, to make them look better rather than buying new cabinets. Painting them and sanding them, making them look brand new might be a better option for a lot of people.
I wish I had known that years ago. I remember having young children and replacing my kitchen cabinets.
Right.
And in addition to the cost, your kitchen is shut down for days and could be weeks on end. So you're eating off paper plates, you're bringing in fast food. It's a mess, it's expensive. And I could have just had them sanded, refinished, and repainted that I didn't even know that was an option. But hopefully now you know that that is an option. And it's great having this conversation with you, Mark. I need to let you go to going ahead and giving us an estimate for this homeowner.
Thank you.
If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Also, I read all of the comments, so any suggestions for future topics, any questions, please ask below. I'll put Mark's contact information so that you have them there, and we'll see you next time.